Well, Happy New Year. Welcome to tomyangnet. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel that I do a lot of vintage Ferrari work, and I'm looking forward to 2026. So up in the corner over there, there's a blue GTE that's been sitting up there in the background for years in my shop. And I've always felt bad about it, just simply because it needs quite a bit of work. I've been slowly nicking away at it because it arrived missing a bunch of parts. And I've been slowly finding all the parts, and I think it's getting close for me to try to get it on the ground and maybe even fire it up for 2026. I can't make promises on it, but I'm trying to put some work into it to try to get things done. And part of it is getting the engine prepped and ready to go. This engine was rebuilt a few years ago when I got everything together and said, well, the engine definitely needs to be rebuilt. So I went ahead and got that done. But the problem that we had was it was missing so many other parts. I struggled to try to get the transmission fixed because when I got this car, it was completely disassembled. It came in with all the parts thrown in the car, in the trunk. The transmission came completely disassembled and thrown in the trunk in parts and boxes and pieces. And I didn't even know where to start. I mean, you first had to inventory all the parts. And we found that we were missing a couple parts, a couple pieces in the overdrive system. And so I had to go and find them. I had to find a bunch of other parts for this car, and it's just taken me a long time. The problem with these cars is that how do you bill for the time that it takes to hunt down parts? You could spend hours on the phone looking for parts and find nothing. And what do? Do you charge the customer for hours of work without any result? So my solution in a way was just to do it when I could. And if I found parts, I certainly would let my customer know. But sometimes it would just be put as a back shelf project. Now, I know that that's not really good for a car, and it's really hard to finish one, but it was the only way that I could think of doing it without just running a clock down and charging for every hour that you do looking for parts. But the good news is, I think we're getting close. The transmission has been resolved. I should have it back together and ready to be installed. So obviously, with the transmission ready, it's time to look at this engine and get it ready for installation. Now, the engine was pretty much done and ready to go a few years ago, and it's been sitting in the shop, which isn't really good for an engine to just sit. I've been turning it over by hand and filled it with some oil and Marvel Mystery Oil to keep it lubricated, plugged up all the holes to make sure nothing, insects or mice or anything would get in it. But I think now that I'm about ready to fire it up, and it's been a few years since this engine's been rebuilt, I'm thinking I'm going to take the valve covers off and put some assembly lube and just make sure that the upper end of this engine is lubricated and before I even crank it over, just simply so I can get some oil pressure going. But a lot of times the valve train up top doesn't see a lot of oil until oil starts pumping. So I think what I'm going to do is go back inside and make sure everything has some kind of lubrication on it before I just fire it up. I mean, when you crank an engine over, you certainly get oil pressure to the main bearings and rod bearings, but the valve train doesn't get as much oil until it splashes up top. So I think it's probably smart to just open it up, put some extra oil and lubrication and assembly lube up top, and get that going. The other thing I wanted to do before I put it on the engine stand was to check the fit of the headers. These headers obviously need a little bit of paint and refurbishment. They're in pretty good shape. I just wanted to make sure that the studs lined up and everything went into place. I had to file a little bit. I mean, these headers kind of move through the years, and sometimes they fit well and sometimes they don't. I didn't want to have it in the car and then find out that the headers don't fit right. So now's the time to do it. Also, I found a couple areas that need to be drilled and tapped so that you can put the exhaust shields in place and held in place. So I'm going to have to go back here and drill those out. But it's just making inventory of things that need to get done before these pieces get painted and refurbished and put back in the car. Once I get the headers checked and fitted, what I'll do is take them off and then fit this engine on my engine stand so that I can at least get it so I could get it to working height, and then I can take the valve covers off and do the top end a little bit and just lubricate. Also, I got to chase down a couple little pieces of hardware. I have a bunch of pieces over here that are ready to go back on the car, but again, you got to always look for nuts and bolts and things that are missing, and just get it all assembled so you can make sure you're not missing any of the hardware. Through the years, and obviously, like I said, this engine came out of the car with just all sorts of parts thrown all over the place. So you really can't take an inventory sometimes until you put everything together and really mock it all together. And like I said, I think on the exhaust, I may end up having a pair of these Y pipes made. This one is a little thin. The other one's missing. So I think it's probably better to just make a new pair of these. The good thing is the headers aren't missing, so we have those. But yeah, the car kind of has to just be assembled. So I'm going to put it up on an engine stand and start going from there. Well, I got the valve covers off. I tried to save the valve cover gasket, but unfortunately, it just didn't want to come off without tearing. I did glue it in. I tend to use some silicone at the bottoms of the gasket because the oil tends to pool at the bottom of the valve covers, and it does leak onto the headers. So you kind of have to use a little bit of sealant, and it just doesn't want to release the valve cover gasket. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to get a new set of valve cover gaskets before I can put this engine back together. But managed to just oil the tops and put just double check everything. Put a little bit of assembly lube on the high wear areas so that when on startup, everything will start nice and smoothly. It's going to get, before I put the valve covers back on, I'll put some fresh oil and just kind of spray or oil this whole area up, even though I have some assembly lube on there, just to ensure that everything is lubricated and ready for startup. So that's just the little bit of precautions I'm making on this 250 before I install it in the car. This episode of Mechanic Struggle of the Week has to do with oil leaks. So I have this 330 at my shop that has gone through a full restoration, and including engine and mechanical rebuild. And while I was down here trying to get the clutch bled, I started to notice a little bit of an oil leak right here. And it's just leaking a little bit, but everything is so pristine underneath here that when you see an oil leak, it's only going to get worse. And the problem with Ferraris is that Ferraris leak oil. I mean, I hate to stand behind that whole mechanic thing, which is like, oh, they all do that. But I mean, I don't know how else to explain it, but Ferraris just leak oil. And the problem is everybody has a different tolerance for oil leaks. I mean, some customers, just know, that's just what they do, and it's just not worth spending all the money to try to chase down oil leaks. And then there are other customers that just have just can't even stand a spot of oil on their garage floor. And they say, what can we do about the oil leaks? And I was like, well, I could take everything apart and reseal it. It's going to cost a lot of money and time. And then I can't necessarily guarantee it's going to stop leaking. But there are some oil leaks that are just dangerous. I mean, if it leaks so much that it's fallen on the headers and it's fallen on the exhaust system and things like that, well, yeah, definitely we should address those. But then there are some oil leaks that just happen, and it's just a matter of whether or not someone wants to fix them or not. The only thing with this car is that it's brand new, and the oil leak that I see coming from the top is not in your usual places, because I've tried to know where the usual leaks are and try to seal them up as well as I can, because I had everything apart. But let me show you where I found this one. the interior of this car is out. In fact, I'm getting this car ready to send to the upholsterer. So the center console is not in, which makes this problem a little bit more accessible. Which there is an oil line. You can see it right there, that brown oil line, and it goes into the back of the block. It feeds the oil pressure gauge inside the car. It taps right off the main oil gallery on the back of the engine. And I believe that it's leaking right there at the fitting. Luckily, it's not leaking at the line because the line is new and all the things on the, but something's going on with the fitting. And I'm going to have to take it apart or tighten it. You almost can't get to it from the top. Let me show you. From the top of the engine, if you can imagine the bell housing being back here, how do you even get to it? I mean, I don't even think I can even show it to you. I think you can just see it. Can you just see that line? I don't even know. Nope, I can't see it because it's underneath the distributor and it's very hard to access. The struggle is these lines, you know, you could go and try to turn them a little tighter and you risk cracking the fitting, because I know when I put it in there, I got it pretty tight, or at least I hope it did. And then there's a little copper gasket in there, so something's going on there. I'm going to have to get to it, but it's always a struggle to decide how tight is too tight and how tight is not tight enough that it's going to leak. The only saving grace to all this is that I can get to it because the transmission tunnel is not in place, and I can actually get up in there and access to it. Kind of. It's not great access, but it's access nonetheless. So the leak in the oil fitting ended up being different than the one that goes under the dash. So I had to flip the line. But that required me to get upside down under the dash to pull the fitting off the gauge and then swap it. But then getting it connected back onto the back of the block was not so easy. So I ended up having to remove the distributor and getting access from the top, which just took a little bit more time. But that was this week's mechanic struggle.